Jin Yucheng's novel Flowers text chapter 12, 1. Tao Tao came back and saw Fang Mei crying alone. Tao Tao said, "Not happy again." Fang Mei said that Pan Jing was here. Tao Tao was frightened and said calmly, "Why?" Fang Mei said she wanted me to give up my position and get a divorce. Tao Tao said, 3,000 nonsense words. Fang Mei said that Pan Jingming told Tao Tao that they can no longer be separated. The relationship between men and women is the most important, and the sexual relationship will be made up for later. Tao Tao said, "It's strange, there is such a woman." Fang Mei said. I laughed and said, "Slutty woman, you took the wrong medicine. My husband, Tao Tao, is the most particular about sexual relations, to put it in a harsh way." Pan Jing got on the bed. Was he quiet or coquettish, crying or screaming? It didn't matter. Tao Tao doesn't even know what kind of talent or skills he has, so he can talk about divorce and get married, which is ridiculous. Pan Jing said that this is a private matter and should not be discussed with outsiders. I smiled to Pan Jing and said, "It's naughty and wishful thinking." Pan Jing said it was consensual. Let me tell you, people are separated from each other. When it comes to relationships, I don't care about accounts at all. I have the ability to keep a close eye on my husband, and I don't go out to steal things. Now, what kind of bullshit relationships can we talk about? Relationships can be eaten as food. The feelings between men and women, class feelings, all are not counted. Only actual actions are considered. Pan Jing couldn't help but smile. I said, "If you have the ability, go ahead and do it with Tao Tao now. Do it once or twice. It sounds like you are hot-headed, confused, and unsteady in your stance." Pan Jing and Tao Tao can do it 10 times, and more than 10 times. I sweat a dozen times and lose 100 hairs, so you are qualified to talk to me about other things. Tao Tao said, "Why do you have to talk about doing it when you talk about it, and say such mean words?" Fang Mei said, "There is no need to be polite between women. Men and women should not have sex. Just be husband and wife." The pottery is silent. Fang Mei said that the person named Pan is more educated than me, has more meat and one more breast than me. Tao Tao said, "Don't be upset." She was a little frightened when she encountered Tianhu Shuo. She likes to talk about feelings. She looks like an honest woman at first glance. Fang Mei said, An honest woman is a bomb blowing up holes in the roof." Tao Tao said, "Wife, please be patient. It will be unpleasant to argue." Fang Mei said, "I was always smiling." And Pan Jing was also smiling. I was waiting for Pan Jing to leave, thinking about it alone, and felt sad. The master said it right. Peach blossoms are prosperous, and peach blossoms are red. What can I do? Tao Tao said, "Don't listen to a word of the liar's bullshit." Fang Mei said, "That's right. Why didn't I listen?" Tao Tao said, "Okay, everything is my fault. Okay." Fang Mei said, "I will start to follow the rules now. It is about Pan Jing's coquettish woman. Her style, Tao Tao must report." Tao Tao said, "I know." Fang Mei said, "I hate it when I think about it. I hate men so much. I really want to buy a lock. It is said that it is sold in Japan and especially designed to lock men. It can be locked in the morning and opened at night." Tao Tao said that if such locks are sold, master keys are also sold. Besides, if a man's lock has an organ problem, his wife will always suffer. After hearing this sentence, Fang Mei broke down in tears and smiled. She slapped Tao Tao and said, "Dead voice." The next day, Pan Jing called and apologized to Tao Tao again. Tao Tao speaks northern dialect. No need to repeat it. I understand. Pan Jing speaks northern dialect. You should always say some words of comfort, Tao Tao said. I also want to comfort him. Pan Jing said softly, "I can comfort you." Tao Tao said, "I don't want to hear it now, really. I'm sorry." Pan was silent. Tao Tao softened her tone and talked about the hot and cold weather. Pan Jing felt bored, answered a few words, and hung up the phone. Hearing the buzzing sound from the microphone, Tao Tao knew that he had finally passed the test. He felt hard and called Jesus several times. On Friday, Tao Tao reported that there would be a dinner party that night. Fang Mei said, "Remember to eat less wine and come back early." Tao Tao agreed. The dinner party was announced by He Sheng, and Tao Tao's former friend Lingzi was treating him. Back then, Tao Dao introduced Hu Sheng as a lawyer and helped Lingzi get divorced, so they became acquainted with each other. Reiko has been in Japan for many years and recently returned to Shanghai. She opened a small restaurant called Night Tokyo on Jingshan Road in the city center. Nowadays in Shanghai, there are not many small restaurants with a single facade, a low interior, and a mezzanine inside. As usual, there is a TV hanging in the store and 6 or 7 small tables, each of which can handle business for 3 or 4 people. If there are many guests, the tabletop can be opened to seat 6 people. If there are more guests, the round tabletop can be rolled out and the snail shell can be used as a dojo. That night, a large round table was set up in Night Tokyo. Among the visitors were Abo, Mr. Fan from Suzhou, and Miss Yu. People who experienced Kangling Pavilion have deep memories in Shanghai. In addition to Mr. Fan's driver, Lingzi, Tao Tao, there are also new friends teachers, Ling Hong, Tingziwen's sister-in-law, Lily, Xiaokan who runs a clothing stall on Waiting Road, and Xiao Guangdong. Everyone sits down. Teacher said that 7 boys and 6 girls should sit with flowers in their arms. The little sister-in-law in the pavilion said that it took a lifetime and it was not enough. At this moment, Hu Sheng looked at Xiaokan. Tao Dao said, "This beauty is." Xiaokan said, "Hello Mr. Hu, Biping is okay." Hu Sheng said, "Not bad." Xiaokan said to Tao Tao, "My name is Xiaokan." Mr. Hu used to come to Waiting Road to buy clothes for Biping and send them to Germany. Lingzi said, "Everyone, be quiet. Let me introduce you. This is Tingziwen's sister-in-law. My old neighbor used to be a flower in the alley. She was fashionable, had many boyfriends, and made all her clothes at home." Teacher said, "Yes, in 1974, bell-bottom pants became fashionable in society. So my sister-in-law made them out of labor cloth and went to a leather shoe stall to hammer and copper nails, which were exactly the same." Lingzi said that after that, Hong Kong-style clothes became popular, and she still made Shanghai-style trousers for her husband. Pants help teachers make Shanghai-to-way shirts, be polite and docile. The little sister-in-law said, "Being docile and docile is about me making clothes, or about being a person." Lingzi said, "Of course, it is about clothes." Little sister-in-law doesn't ring. Lingzi said that all the women in the alley are only jealous of the little sister-in-law because they can't do it. Teacher said, "To put it simply," Lingzi said, "this is Teacher, the 3rd generation of businessmen. In the 1960s I was eating fixed interest rates and foreign exchange in the 1980s. Now I live alone in a bungalow. I read newspapers and eat coffee every day and know everything about world events. This is Ling Hong, a beauty from Shanghai. I met a little sister in Japan. My former husband was from Japan." "Monk," Ling Hong said, "Don't talk about my past affairs." Lingzi said, "This is Lily, my elementary school classmate. My mother-in-law has a background and is an official in Beijing. And the other is Xiaokan, Xiao Guangdong. They are not husband and wife, not lovers, a friend from the clothing stall on Waiting Road." Xiaokan is smiling. Lingzi said, "Don't look at Xiaokan like a bodhisattva. Her hand is spicy. As soon as a new pattern comes out in Japan, I will send it from Tokyo to Shanghai, and Xiaokan will be distributed again." 6 days later, the stall will have it as for sale. Hu Sheng said, "I have bought it." Xiaokan smiled. Bao said, "The little sister-in-law in the pavilion has a special name." The little sister-in-law laughed and said, "She must be thinking of sister-in-law in the pavilion. I have read it before, 3 times. Sir, please give me your last name." Bao said, "My name is Bao." The little sister-in-law said that this book is said to have been reprinted. Bao said that he used to be the ancestor of Huang Shu, but now it is not unusual, Lingzi said. "What are Ling Hong's plans now?" "She is 27 years old, so she is not young." Ling Hong said, "I am 24 years old." Tingzi asked the little sister-in-law, "Introduce your boyfriend, and I'll figure it out." Ling Hong said, "I'm not in a hurry. My cousin has told me that we can wait for a few years before we talk about circumcision." Miss Yu picked up a piece of grilled mackerel, shook her chopsticks and said, "What?" Ling Hong said that she wanted me to be active for a few years and see the market. Mr. Fan from Suzhou said, What's the market like? Ling Hong said. First meet Hong Kong men, Taiwanese men, Japanese men. This is the market, a Bao said. This cousin is from a foreign service company. Or, Ling Hong leisurely said that it was an ordinary foreign female employee who had a Japanese man perform circumcision for more than 2 years. Everyone is silent. Reiko said that the foreskin was normal. Ling Hong was in good condition, spoke good Japanese, could recite the Japanese sutra, and followed Japanese monks. Ling Hong said, settling old scores again. Reiko said that monks in China and Japan are the same. Ling Hong said that Japanese temples are generally private and can be passed down from generation to generation. If a monk raises his eldest son, he will be considered the heir to the temple and will become a great monk in the future. Shao Kun snorted. Ling Hong said, I was afraid of giving birth to a little girl, so I had to recite the Eastern Sutra every day. I was also scared, thinking about what I really did. I must have been struck by a wooden fish in my previous life, and got into this marriage. Bao looked at Mr. Fan. Ms. Yu said that Mr. Fan calls himself Mensao, relatively boring, and makes a lot of money with his muffled voice. Mr. Fan said, I usually drink wine with my ears open, listening and eating with my ears closed, and I only eat 1.5 pounds of rice wine. The little sister-in-law in the pavilion said that the most boring person is Teacher. Lily said, What do you mean? The little sister-in-law said that every time I see these two Ben Shanghai beauties, their bones weigh only 4 ounces, and the old house is on fire and burns very quickly. Teacher said, It's boring. Ling Hong said sharply, Mr. Zhe is a real old man. Only middle-aged old women are a real sultry coquettish person. And being coquettish means burning. If he is not careful, he will burn out his sewing machine, burn down 2 old alleys, and burn down people. The little lady-in-law made no sound in the pavilion. Teacher said, The more you talk about it, the more obscene it becomes. In ancient Japan, there really was a sultry man. When he saw 2 Japanese girls behind the curtain, this man sang a poem and said, This place is called Ran. Crossing the river will dye your body. Now I passed, became a pornographic person. The Japanese girl in the curtain immediately responded with a song. Although it was called Ran, dyeing clothes does not dye the heart. Nong's heart has been dyed. Don't blame the dyeing river for being deep. Lingzi waved her hand and said, I don't understand a word. Teacher said that in the past, girls from the book apartment on Sima Road would wear elegant Suzhou embroidered shoes when they came in and out. Now, they can also wear slippers. There is the grinding mirror. There is the 3 floors. There is the meat alley. There is also the sisters flying together. Society is cracking down on pornography every day, but the pornography is still gone. Sister-in-law, no sound. Mr. Fan said, Last month, I went to Guangzhou and it was indeed the end of the day. The customer helped me book the Red Moon. At the hotel, a friend from Guangzhou called me and laughed when he heard Red Moon. When 10 friends from Guangzhou heard it, 10 of them laughed. My colleagues and I got off the plane and arrived at the hotel. And we also laughed. The hotel lobby is like a nightclub. It was after 9 o'clock at night. Next to the elevator, there are dozens of girls in 2 rows. Beside the stairs, there are many girls with vulgar looks, which is equivalent to a meat screen. Near the main desk, it is considered an entertainment area. One of the bars has a small tea stand with high stools on 3 sides. There was a circle of guests. There was a still pipe on the stage, and there was a lingerie show. The women walked directly to the wine glasses. Strangely, the spectators were only old ladies, grandmothers, young boys, and middle school students. The lady kept going up to the bar. Her thighs were like trees. I knew I had taken the medicine. I entered the elevator and reached the floor quarter. 5 or 6 girls were waiting immediately. When they walked into the room, the doorbell and phone rang all night long. The lady kept calling and knocking on the door. This kind of scene has been written about in the book, Sister-in-Law in the Pavilion. It's far from good. In ordinary hotels, there are only a few calls answer, and then the phone stops ringing. In this hotel, at 2 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, there was still a lady knocking on the door, opening a crack, like a loge. wanting to get in, squeeze in, saying that she wanted to use the phone. Or directly ask, "Boss, sir, do you want to change pillows?" Xiaoqin said, "What do you mean?" Lingzi said that this is a slang term for guests. Call the front desk and change the pillows, just to ask for a lady. Mr. Fan said that early the next morning, I had breakfast with my colleagues. Lingzi said, "Slow down. It's too sloppy to wait until dawn. You have to tell me slowly. This night can't be peaceful." Miss Yu said that the mouse fell into the rice hoard. Mr. Fan said, "I was not in the mood. I kept getting calls from my friends in Guangzhou all night long. They smiled sinisterly and asked me how I was doing. I had to take care of myself. I'm really annoyed. I'm like entering the 4th Avenue, entering the hall, Hilali, which will shorten my life." My friend said that Mr. Fan has lived to this age, which is enough. In the evil old society, 60 is considered a long life, and 40 is a medium life, which is enough. I could only laugh. No one would understand my feelings. Miss Yu said, "Forget it." Tao Dao said, "What happened later?" Mr. Fan said, "I had breakfast and decided to check out. My colleagues went out to do errands. When I returned to my room, several ladies in the corridor blocked my way. One of them said, 'Boss, I am alone now and can do my job.' I was startled. The lady said, 'My colleague is out. Please do it for 15 minutes. I have cosmetics. Hurry up.' 'I'm talking about cosmetics,' the lady said, pretending to be confused and asking me for condoms. This is too vulgar and uncivilized. I looked at the young lady. She has good skin and a slim figure. To put it bluntly, the young lady here basically has a big frame and a northern rouge. The young lady in front of me has the golden powder of the southern dynasties. I tell you, judging by her accent, she is from the Jiangnan area." The lady said, "I am from Shanghai." I asked where in Shanghai. The lady said, "Kunshan, Shanghai." "Let me tell you, Kunshan is Jiangsu." The lady smiled and said, "Boss, this is a quarter. Why are there geography classes? Hurry up, drag me to the bed and let the classes begin. Go ahead." "I don't ring," the lady said. "Shanghai, Jiaoding, Kunshan, Tokong, Suzhou, Southeast, Northwest, can be written on my belly. I will remember it and teach the schoolgirl a lesson. To be more serious, go ahead." At that time, I said, "May, the Chinese New Year is coming soon, so I should go back to Kunshan as soon as possible." The young lady said that businessmen are really ungrateful. My little wife came to take care of her because her husband worked too hard. As a man, you can take one trip at a time. When Mr. Fan talked about this, he took a sip of wine. Tao Dao said, "What happened later?" Mr. Fan said that he stopped talking about it later. Teacher said that storytellers tell stories. Lily said, "I want to listen." Mr. Fan said that at the time I asked the lady what it meant when one trip was meant to be a one-stop trip. The young lady smiled silently, and the man came closer. I stepped aside and told him that I was about to be shot because I had terminal cancer. The young lady exclaimed, "Oh my dear, my little wife is blowing pillow wind and drinking some ecstasy soup. Why are you taking it so seriously?" Miss Yu said that such a bad woman who engages in skin-flesh business should be sent to a women's correctional center immediately. Bao said that before the Chinese New Year, pornography will be cracked down on as usual. Tao Dao said that the current wife lacks a project and basically doesn't know how to be charming. The young lady is the best in the market, so she is more charming and softer. She will be soft and considerate when she sticks to her, and business will be easier to do. Mr. Fan said, "Luckily, several of my friends from Guangzhou arrived, followed by a bunch of colorful hairy crabs wearing bras, and finally closed the door." My friend said that during this period, the prices here are reasonable. I said, "Hey, do you think I have already done it?" The friend laughed without laughing. "Let me tell you. Why don't you believe me?" My friend said. "Ha ha ha ha. I tell you, you have to believe me," my friend said. "Everyone knows that if the management is loose, the price is fair, and the service is in place. But if the management is tight, there will be no stealing, dancing, flying doves, extortion, kidnapping. Everything is done. So just do it. It doesn't matter." At that time, I felt chest tightness and almost had a heart attack. Friends say, be polite and do whatever you want. Here, people generally don't look for a lover. It's too much trouble during the holidays. You have to write greeting cards, eat, buy gifts, celebrate birthdays, look at the stars, light candles, and celebrate Valentine's Day. 8th Festival, after July 7th. Mid-Autumn Festival, National Day, right after Thanksgiving. Christmas, New Year's Day, and then Valentine's Day. Annoying. When Mr. Fan talked about this, everyone was silent. Teacher sighed and said, this little girl from Kunshan doesn't understand the fundamentals of establishing a world at all. Alas, she is the leader of all evils, Hushang said. The old man likes to recite this sentence the most. Teacher said that facts have proven that in the face of beauty, Fan can always stand the test. He has a pure heart and is not greedy, so he will be rewarded. Mr. Fan said, yes, yes. Teacher said that if you read Jin Pingmei, you should not learn from its obscenities. Of course, men's desire for fame and fortune will fade away as soon as they see beautiful faces. This is good, however. Certain ancient literati either commented on obscene books or wrote about obscenities to encourage women to yearn for youth, but the result is that they will either die by cutting in half or commit suicide by chewing their tongues. You can do it. You must be upright as a human being. You cannot love bed pillows, pick flowers and willows, steal jade and fragrance. The same is true for women. You must not be greedy and think above. We must first abstain from sexual immorality, otherwise we will bring disaster upon ourselves, not get good rewards, and shorten our lifespan. Miss Yu sneered and said that Mr. Fan's friends turned out to be all unscrupulous men, which was to mean, Mr. Fan said, Miss Yu doesn't understand men. Miss Yu said that the government must increase efforts to eradicate all the messy hotels and pheasants. Hu Sheng said, yes. Under the new Soviet government, prostitutes were eliminated the most, and they teamed up with the Revolutionary Red Army in groups. Lian wrote a letter suggesting that they all be shot. As a result, in the Chinese version, prostitutes were translated as those who sold themselves to surrender. Teacher said that Chinese people know best the spring and autumn style of writing, and have first-class writing skills. The Luosung people are the most tricky and indifferent in their work style. Most of the Soviet Red Army have syphilis. Why do prostitutes become army nurses? In 1920, most of the Soviet women's concentration camps also locked up these Soviet girls. The little sister-in-law in the pavilion said that Teacher has recently become a believer in Jesus Christ, and she calls her sister and sister when she speaks. It's disgusting. And prostitutes. Just call them prostitutes. Teacher said that in ancient times, people advocate excellence, which is the word advocating excellence. Sharui makes fragrance, elegant, and later it is popular. In English, it is called a ham shop. In Shanghai, people talk about saltwater girls and bacon shops. When a man walks in, it is called cutting bacon. To receive people from outside, it's called chu sausage, borscht bacon, Korean bacon, shorty bacon, talankiao. There's dong yang tangzi. You know, it's just me. The name is the same as the government of New China. This is education. The female soldiers of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom also called each other sisters, so they always called sister and sister. Later, the country made a movie to educate prostitutes, Sisters and Sisters Stand Up. At that time, they took action and captured many sisters and sisters, including foreign sisters and sisters. Chow Chow after being sent to the Longhua Correctional Institution on Tongzhou Road. Some women hugged white-skinned babies and black-skinned babies, crying and screaming, wanting to hang themselves or seek death. After the education, their minds became clear and they were willing to do it. A group of tricycle drivers' wives signed up to go to the frontier because the soldiers were short of wives during the 30 years of peace. Society loosened up and things went smoothly. New younger sisters, who were happy and lustful, appeared again, and the pressure became tighter. Mengbo said forcefully, speaking of it, there is indeed a kind of woman in the world who likes this food. Reiko said, yes, she is born with it, and there is nothing that can be done about it. Teacher lowered his voice and said, only the little Japanese girl at that time was the most amazing. Tingzi, I asked the little sister-in-law. Teacher said that because the responsibilities were too heavy. After World War II, a group of Japanese little girls came to the market. They wore heavy makeup and went to Shanghai to do the skin and flesh business. When they got pregnant, they took a ship back to Japan and did another one. Batch. I'm so happy. I'll take the ship back and bring one batch. Once I have it, I'll go back and get another batch, Cao Dao said. How many batches have come in total? Teacher lowered his voice and said, there are probably more than a dozen batches. Why? It's coming. Borrowing seeds. Basically, all the Japanese men died during the war. It has reached a critical stage, and there is no way to find men to pass on the seeds. Lily said doubtfully, if such a thing really exists. It sounds serious. Could it be that all the Japanese now are Chinese? Now, you are Shanghaians. Teacher said awkwardly, this is just hearsay. Folk stories and legends are fine. In Japanese, there are marriage and mixed blood, and the Meiji year was race improvement. Between the pavilions, the little sister-in-law said, stop, stop, come. Every time we eat, we talk over and over again. Either talking about things that we don't understand, or about evil things, Ling Hong said. Evil is evil. Everything is dirty. Things, garbage things, if they don't happen to the Japanese, they won't be satisfactory. Everyone had wine and food. Lily said that every time I see everyone, Sister Lingzi and Sister Ling Hong, it opens my eyes. Lingzi said that Lily had seen the big market and was too polite. Lily said, I just talked about foreskin care, and I have been thinking about it. I think it makes sense. How can a girl in a small alley have high-quality male and female education? But with a senior leading cadre, a high-quality Japanese man, and a good gentleman in Hong Kong, experience the lives of men and women. And after a few years, their vision, conversation, taste, temperament, and habits will be equal to a few years of free master's and doctoral studies, free training and direct promotion, and people will be completely different. Ling Hong said that it was wrong to marry someone, so it was better not to marry. Lily said, it's bad luck. My classmate married a man. There was nothing wrong before the marriage. After the marriage, all the husband's dislike of Shanghai was transferred to his wife. It's pitiful to see her eating a meal. A bowl of rice with pickled vegetables and one bite of white rice makes my husband fall in love. My husband is a wheat farmer and has to make dough by hand every day. He believes that white steamed buns are the most nourishing ones in the world. He is going to die. This bride from Shanghai makes flour every day. It's like opening a big cake shop, crackling, making big cakes every month. My husband bought 2 rolling pins, big and small, and a wooden board. When he sees his wife washing rice and cooking, he will cry, quarrel, argue, and talk. Get up and get the highest education. Xiao Ken said, this is not necessarily true. I am from the countryside, and I don't like the countryside at all. I just want to go to Shanghai and go back to celebrate the new year. It's just for the sake of my parents. Nowadays, there are so many people and it's so lively. I want to go back to my hometown to celebrate the new year. Brother, sisters are also on the same page, eating and talking. But outside the house, there are mountains. Outside the house in Shanghai, it is still a house. Lingzi said. Xiao Ken said these few sentences. It is interesting. Xiao Ken said that when I went back last year, my fellow villagers asked me to bring 6 pairs of leather shoes and a full travel bag. Sister Lingzi said that I was crazy. The leather shoes sold at the street vendor cost 15 yuan a pair. 6 pairs of shoes totaled 90 yuan. They had a chemical smell, which was smelly and strong. My sister said that even if I carried it to the post office and mailed it, it would still cost more than this amount of money. But I knew in my heart that I could only take it back. This is the rule in the countryside. If I refuse, I can't say it. Lingzi said that Xiao Ken's brain was already damaged. It cost less than 100 yuan, a big foreskin, and a long-distance bus. Moreover, Xiao Ken didn't recognize this little nanny from the same village at all. She was introduced by a fellow from the next village. Xiao Ken said, Sister, This is how it is in the countryside. If something is not done well, it will be passed down for a lifetime. Cao Dao said, "What's the result?" Xiaoqun said, "If you want someone to tell you something good, I have suffered all my life, so of course I will take it back." Cao Dao said, "Xiaoqun is really good." Xiaoqun said, "The countryside is like this. Chickens can't see people growing up, and people can't see how tall the mountains are. My parents are getting older every year. The 2 trees at the door are getting thicker every year. This year, the 2 trees are growing taller and taller. I bought new wood and made 2 sets of wood for my parents." Lingzi said, "What is Xiaoqun doing?" Xiaoqun said, "I'm sorry, I have disappointed everyone, so I won't talk about it anymore." Cao Dao took the tissue and Xiaoqun took it and said, "I wanted to tell you something happy and make everyone laugh. But I didn't know that something would be wrong the moment I started talking." Cao Dao speaks with emotion. Please continue. Xiaoqun said that on New Year's Eve last year, people in the countryside were just having dinner. Someone knocked on the door. My dad went out, but no one was there. When he came back and sat down, someone laughed outside. There was a strong north wind and someone coughed. I went out with my dad. Look, the snow is completely white. And there is no one in sight. Every house is closed for the new year. And the dogs don't bark. I'm scared. When I come back with my father, there's a table full of brothers and sisters eating food and wine. I can't eat. I hear other noises outside. Dad had a drink and whispered to my mother that it must be my uncle who is causing trouble. Xiaoqun, please help him set out a pair of dishes and chopsticks first. My mother said, "Forget it. I won't do it for a few years. My uncle will definitely come. The county seat is gone and we will never come back." My dad said that just burning a little paper during the winter solstice is of no use. As soon as everyone comes back during the new year, the table is full. And some people are deserted, and it is inevitable that they will be jealous. Halfway through Dad's speech, the door made a loud noise. Ling Hong said, "Scary." Xiaoqun said, "As soon as I opened the door, a ribbon bird flew in, called Leon Magpie in the countryside. My dad told the bird that on New Year's Eve, there is nothing to be upset about, and there is nothing to be unhappy about. If this bird doesn't chirp, neither will everyone. I know in my heart that this practicing magpie is my brother-in-law." Lily said, "Where can such a scary bird exist?" Xiaoqun said that the countryside is like this. Anyway, on New Year's Eve, things like this happen all the time. Animals appear, hear strange noises, cough, and end up bumping into a quail, a rabbit, and a rabbit. An osprey. This time a magpie is a strange bird that flies to the grave mound in spring and screams alive and dead. Everyone is silent at the moment. Outside the small restaurant is Junction Road. The lights are dim. Xiaoqun said, 96. There was a great famine in the new year. My brother-in-law reported to the underworld and became a hungry ghost. The burial was too thin at that time, so it was easy to escape. Every new year, everyone came together to eat. They ate well and talked well. A little more water, a little more liveliness, and my uncle will be unbalanced and cause a little trouble. Everyone is silent. Xiaoqun said that on New Year's Eve, everyone was afraid that my uncle would be frightened, so they would not let off the firecrackers. On the first day of the new year, I opened the door, and my uncle flew away. On the 15th day of the first lunar month, all the banquets in the world were dispersed. Only my parents were left in the house, and they were all gone. Lingzi said that if the whole family moved to Shanghai, my uncle would fly to Shanghai. Xiaoqun said that this was impossible. Maybe it would be possible for it to turn into an earth-moving truck and crash into a house on the street. The whole house laughed. Xiaoqun said, "I am talking nonsense. My brother-in-law, if it were an ordinary kite or a muntjac, it would not be able to fly through the densely packed roads and houses in Shanghai. And it would not be able to fly to Anning or walk across the Huangdu, and it would definitely be lost." Cao Dao said that he was eventually put into an iron cage and sent to a western suburbs park. Everyone was silent. Xiaoqun said, "I used to think that a person is just like a tree, but later I realized that in fact, a person is just a leaf. In autumn, it falls and usually cannot be found. Every time I feel unhappy, I think when I think about celebrating the new year in the countryside, For the gatherings of friends in Shanghai, I feel a little happier, because everyone will disperse, and the leaves will fall in a blink of an eye, Lingzi said. What's the point? We'll get together again after we break up, and we'll break up again after we get together. Teacher said that Xiaokan looked smiling, but felt sad in her heart. Listen to the teacher's words. You have to be numb as a human being. You know, like me. Read the newspaper and eat coffee. Lingzi said. Okay, teacher is very old, and if everyone is the same, it is best to stay in a nursing home together. Everyone is silent. The little sister-in-law in the pavilion said that teacher was not old at all and helped a lot in opening this restaurant. Lingzi rolled her eyes at the little sister-in-law, picked up the cup and said, Yes, I would like to take this opportunity to invite you all to come often in the future. During this dinner, although Cao Cao and Xiaokan only exchanged a few words, they had the common topic of setting up a stall and they were quite close to each other. After the dinner was over, everyone headed outside. Husheng and Xiaokan were walking and chatting. Cao Cao wanted to follow him, but Reiko pulled Cao Cao back to the shop. Lingzi smiled and said, Cao Cao, what did you think of? Cao Cao said, What? Lingzi said, What did she think of when she saw Xiaokan next to her? Cao Cao said, I can't think of it. Lingzi said, Thinking of Fang Mai, right? Cao Cao said, Why? Lingzi was surprised and said, You have a conscience. You have forgotten it. The pottery is silent. Lingzi said, Cao Cao recognized Fang Mai. She was my guest and she forgot about it. Cao Cao said, I know this. Lingzi said that at that time, Fang Mai was sitting on the right side of Cao Cao. Fang Mai set up a stall to sell towels. She and Cao Cao had a lively conversation that night. A man and a woman. Because of the stall, Cao Cao had a lot of money. And Cao Cao had 3 flowers. We went and talked. The 2 stalls were placed together. And, finally, the embroidered pillows were placed side by side. And they became husband and wife. The pottery is silent. Lingzi said, Now, on Cao Cao's right side, sits a small piano. I am a discerning and enlightened person, but be careful. You can't mess with my little sister in all kinds of ways. If you don't do it well, big trouble will happen. You know, Cao Cao said. I know, don't worry. Cao Cao said goodbye and walked out of the shop. Outside night Tokyo, Suzhou President Fan opened the car door and sent Miss Yu back. The little sister-in-law walked slowly with teacher. Everyone scattered. Xiaokan stood next to the sycamore tree, with her head lowered and her eyes fixed, motionless. When she saw Cao Cao coming out, she took a few steps forward. Cao Cao smiled at Xiaokan. The people were silent. Xiaokan said, If Cao Cao is free, come to Waiting Road to see me. Cao Cao said, Okay. Xiaokan said, I'm leaving. Cao Cao waved his hand. The two said goodbye.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.